highlights of this week's newsletter. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, you may do so at huntingfishing.com. Doug prepares a weekly newsletter on things in Arizona and things around the nation. Doug, good job this week. What do you got for us?
Well, to start off with, Don, we want to mention the fact that the Arizona Game and Fish Department has their traditional outdoor expo, which will be April 2nd through April 3rd. They didn't have them the last year or two, I forget, mostly because of the virus situation. But they're back on, and they're out at the department headquarters. So that's kind of cool. They have all kinds of events out there for kids, displays, wildlife, fishing, you name it. So it's a good event to go to. They open at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Saturdays, and on Sunday as well. The Outdoor Expo is easy to find. It's located on Carefree Highway, about 1/2 mile west of the I-17 in Phoenix.
Yep, that's between the Ben Avery world-class shooting facility and AZGFD headquarters at 5000 West Carefree Highway.
Correct.
Okay, let me ask you, I did a cursory look down through the newsletter this week, and it appears some giant muskie have been taken, set a couple of new records.
Yeah, you got that right. I mean, up in Maryland, a Washington County angler caught a record muskie, 33 pounds, and it's a huge fish. I mean, this is not what you would call a world-class record, because that reaches about almost 70 pounds for world-class. But in Maryland, that was a record for that particular state. So that's a big fish. Holy smokes.
And then wasn't there another one in West Virginia?
Yes. There we are. A record muskie in West Virginia as well. It was over 55 inches. You know, that's a huge fish. But you can see by looking at the picture, that was a monster to bring in. So it was 54 inches and 39.6 pounds, actually.
Wow.
Yeah. If you've ever had one like that on your line, you know you got a battle coming up.
Yeah, that's
no
like a freshwater sharks. And then Arkansas kind of burped up a big trout.
Yes, they did. This gentleman, and I believe it was his son, pulled in a 34-inch, 25.8-pound brown trout. Now, you would never know, as we talked about on the show, Arkansas, brown trout, but they do. There's a lot of trout streams in Arkansas.
I just don't equate trout with Arkansas. Other things, but
yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, we'll just let it go at that. So.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was kind of interesting. Some good fishing tips that I put in the newsletter this week. Fly fishing for trout, by the way. Spring tips or spring worm tips. So I try to put that kind of stuff out in the newsletter for people who want to know how things are done, when it comes to fishing. We want to go back up across the country a little bit. In California, there was a mountain lion captured after an officer chased it past a hair salon in Southern California.
Nice.
Yeah. He was a 113-pound cat. They had to tranquilize him before he did any damage. But that was kind of interesting, with all the talk we've had about lions in California, that kind of caught my attention. So.
Well, they did it to themselves, so they deserve what they get.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Moving on down a little bit, in Colorado, Estes Park is basically where this was, an iconic bull elk was found dead. Now, this is an elk that people watched for years. I believe he was either like 10 or 11 years old.
Yeah.
Um, and they named him, among other names, Bruno, Kahuna, and Incredible. He's been in the news up there a lot. People take a lot of pictures of this guy. Finally passed away, and he didn't just pass away. He had an injured leg to start off with, and they believe, but they don't know for sure that a cougar actually got a hold of him.
Wow.
So, too bad. A most interesting situation was in Pennsylvania, where a wildlife officer had to shoot a buck's antler off to free him from a net, a nylon-type net. Now, what was unique about this, and you can see the picture right now, this guy, they believe he shot this off with a shotgun, but he pierced and broke off the one antler that was all tied up in that net. An amazing shot by this guy.
Wow.
But it freed the deer. He was fine, no big deal. But it saved his life, basically.
Yeah, he was probably shooting a slug, I'd be my guess.
Well, if you look at that picture, and more than likely it was a slug, but an amazing event. What he didn't want to do is euthanize it. Not euthanize it. He didn't want to put it to sleep, you might say, because he felt like that would just cause more trouble than anything else.
Yeah.
So if you look at what he's doing, he's pretty close to that deer when he takes his shot. So it was a cool shot, cool thing to do, etc. Down on the Columbia River, all right, there was a giant white sturgeon that was seized from poachers. Now, these are illegals, and this was along a bay called Scaposi. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but he did not release it. There were people watching this guy, and when they approached him, he said, "Oh, no, I wasn't doing anything wrong." Well, when they inspected the boat, they found an 88-inch giant white sturgeon. Oh, man, put that guy away for a while. So that's kind of the name of the game on the newsletter this week, Don.
Was that a couple questions on that? Was that sturgeon deceased at that point?
No, he survived.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yeah, they were allowed. They could let him go, and he was fine.
Good deal.
I don't know what the difference would be between the release of a live poached white sturgeon versus a dead white.
Well,
sturgeon.
I would imagine either way the penalties probably the same thing, but at any rate they should have cut both the guys' thumb off. So.
Yeah. No, I agree. So that's it on our newsletter this week, Don.
Well, good job on that. Guys, you can sign up for the newsletter. Doug does a great job weekly on that at huntingfishing.com. And Doug will do this again next week.
Yes, we will.